The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody. Well, welcome to my webinar number 3. I'm just going to turn on my cameras and see who I am. There we go. Hi, everybody. It's webinar number 3. I'm going to be talking about AutoCAD, layers, Xrefs, and the eTransmit command. Now, we all get drawing files in from other people, so it's just, people have problems with layers and like the numbers of layers and that kind of thing. So I'm going to run through that, but let me run through a quick PowerPoint first of all to let you know a bit about how these, a bit about me and one thing or another. So if I just close my webcam now, you don't be looking at me all day, so let's just close that webcam. So yes, as I say, this is webinar number 3. Let me just click on the screen there. And there we go. My name is Steve Crow. I've been with Greytech now since January 1989. And my main role with the company primarily is support and training. The products I support are the AutoCAD products, AutoCAD-based products, and the Revit software as well. So yes, I've just started doing these webinars. This is my webinar number 3, so I'm still getting into the swing of things with these. I'm normally used to having a classroom full of people. So it's a bit strange just sat here talking to my screen. Hopefully you can all hear me. So let me just have a look. Yes, I've been getting good feedback from my webinars. So there's one there, look, from Tom, most useful tips and tricks I've had in CAD webinars, used lots of them already. Another guy there, very good webinar, practical tips not known before. So yes, these are not new features necessarily. These all exist in the later versions of AutoCAD. Where there are new features, I'm going to be showing you some today. Where there are new features, I'll point them out specifically. But everything else, it's in your version of the software, the software you have at the moment. So yes, let's have a look, see where we go to with this. So yeah, Greytech then as a company, we've got offices in the UK there. Wherever you see those little G's around the country, got Southampton head office down there. I'm based with the Durham office there, and so on. Our head office in near Paris in France, and we've got offices all over Europe. We've got the inset map there, got offices in America and in Canada, and across in Russia as well. Offices across in Russia. So yeah, as a company, we're expanding all the time. We're doing okay, even in these hard times. Oops, if I click onto there. So as Greytech as a company, we're over 30 years old. I've been with them 32 years. So as I said, January 89 when I started, headquarter at Brive in France. And yes, we're growing, still growing, as I say, even in these hard times. So that's good to know. You're in good hands if you're one of our customers. Over 550 staff there. There's more come on. We're taking more people on board. So yes, just busy. R&D in Romania, where we're writing software, and then our supporters, thousands of customers, and our feedback for our support is either excellent or good. 98% excellent or good, and over 3,500 training courses delivered per year. And yes, I'm busy. My diary's filling up through the year with training courses, AutoCAD Essentials courses, Revit Architecture, Revit and EP courses, that kind of thing. Bespoke courses, I'm out on site delivering courses, and also going out and setting up CAD standards in offices, helping people through the project, that kind of thing. So yeah, busy, keeping us busy. So why come to us? Well, we can take you through the whole project from with all the Autodesk suite of software. We've got the sales expertise, to sell the software and advise it correctly. Then we can back it up with training and support as well. And you can go through your design, simulate the projects, and then do the design all the way through to fabrication. And then afterwards, you can manage, if it's the buildings, for example, you can manage the buildings using Autodesk software or the BIM software and that kind of thing. So yes, it's all like a full turnkey package we can supply you with from start to finish. So yes, today we're going to be looking at AutoCAD layer management, Xrefs, revision history and issue control. I don't know what you guys do for revision history and issue control, but I'll cover that with the e-transmit. That's what the idea of that, in my mind, it can be used for. So layers, you'll be getting drawing files in from various disciplines, dozens, if not hundreds of layers. I want to show you how to manage those layers, rationalize them, categorize them, and so on. And I'm sure you've seen that message popping up, unreconciled layers. And it's just a pain, isn't it? You keep closing it, and every time it pops up again. I'll show you how to stop that happening. And external references, how they work, what they're all about, and how to manipulate and manage those as well. And then look at the benefits of using those. And often if you get drawing files in, I'm sure you've had the message, Xref not found. How do you resolve that? How do you work with that? So layers, layer filters, the layer states manager, and then Xrefs and the e-transmit. Okay, now I'm going to be using AutoCAD 2021. So if you have any questions, I'm going to be flying through the fair old rig, so lots to pack in. I should really expanded this topic to a 2-hour session. But anyway, I've got 1 hour to get it all cracked in there. So let's see how we get on. So any questions afterwards, just there's my email address, scribble it down now, steve.crow@greatech.co.uk, scribble it down, and then if you have any questions, if you email a question over to me, then I can give it a considered answer later on. So if you, as I say, just email a question, any questions over, and then we'll see where we go from. So I'm just setting a timer so I don't run over time. There we go. If I start, there we go. So yes, email them over, steve.crow@greatech.co.uk. Any questions, I can give them a fully considered answer and get it emailed back to you and help you on that one. Excellent. So yeah, there we go. Come out of that. Okay. So close that and close that, and I can close those and into my AutoCAD. There we go, the front end to AutoCAD. So yes, this message that pops up, you get on the screen when you go and open a drawing file. I'm going to open a file here. Now I hope you're all using this places list on the side here for your drawing files. There we go, so it takes me directly to where my drawing files are using this places list here. I might cover that in one of the webinar sessions. There's a drawing file here, for example. If I go and open this drawing file up, here, if I do an open, open the drawing file up, and there's that message that keeps popping up on the screen, bottom left-hand corner, right-hand corner of the screen, new unreconciled layers, unreconciled new layers. And I'm guessing most of the time you just close that box in the corner and crack on with your work. But then it pops up next time, it carries on popping up. Let me show you how to sort it. Well, first of all, I'll explain what unreconciled layers are. If you go to your layer manager, and there's the layer manager, and I've pushed it at the top of the screen there, and if you go to all layers there, look, go to all layers. Now, to sort these layers out, if you I'll put that up there, if I scroll to the top here, if I scroll to the top, there we go. Now you can't see all the layers there, look. You can't see the layer names. Sometimes the headings are all cramped up as well. If you do a right click on any column heading, a right click on the mouse, and maximize all columns, it expands them out so you can see them all properly, which is much better when you're working with them. Now, when you've got unreconciled layers in, there they are, look. There's a layer, what's called layer filter here, new unreconciled layers. And there they are, list those layers. Now, what those layers are the layers that they haven't been approved in this drawing file. The idea behind it is that if you've got some CAD standard set up in your office, and your office has decided we have these layers in our drawing file, if people start creating layers willy-nilly in a drawing file, somebody needs to have authority to sign those layers off to allow those layers to be in the drawing file. Now, most of the time, the layers are set up in your drawing template file. I mean, it does help if, for example, if you have some layer standard set up and there's a spelling mistake, or people are creating layers for text, annotation, notes, and it goes on. So it stops people randomly making layers. without, it doesn't stop them, but they're not, they haven't been signed off. So basically nobody's approved these layers. So you can go through them. If I say, yeah, that's the correct layer, I can do a right click over it and reconcile the layer. Look, there's the option to reconcile it. So yes, I'm accepting that layer is going to be part of this drawing file, and it disappears from the list, and so on. You can do them en masse as well. Now, if you're not bothered about reconcile or unset reconcile layers, you can turn it off. If you come into your layer settings in here, we'll go back to the all filter, go to your layer settings here, look, it's in here at the top left. New layer notification. Evaluate new layers added to the drawing file. So evaluate all new layers. So you could turn them on and off in these boxes here, or you can turn the whole lot off, so it's not going to do any evaluation at all, and just ignore new layers. It'll ignore any new layers that are created. We're now doing OK now. So now it's lost that layer filter, because you don't need it anymore, and also that message will not pop up on the screen anymore. Now, so that's how you sort that out, and that's what unreconciled layers are. There's another tool in here that you quite often, that I would suggest you get turned on as well. If I go into a layer here, a drawing here, look, bank building, it's bank building drawing, and back into my layer properties, there's the layer properties. Now, this first column where it says status, that is telling us which layers are being used. Now, as far as it's concerned at the moment, it is suggesting all of the layers are being used. That's what the little coloured tile is, that parallelogram. And if I go back into settings, the product is shipped without that box ticked for some reason. Now, if you tick that box, indicate which layers are being used or not, do an OK on that, I can now see straight away the ones with the little empty coloured tile there, they're the ones that are not being used. So now I get a better idea of the ones that I can delete. So if I list it by status, these ones on the bottom here are not being used, and I could delete those layers. Okay. Now, I'm sure you've all had a situation where you try to delete a layer, but it won't allow you. Now, that can happen if a layer is being referenced by, for example, a symbol. So supposing you had a symbol in your drawing file called pump, and you had a drawing on the system which you had inserted into your layout drawing. Now, in that drawing called pump, there are several layers, and one of them is not being used in that drawing called pump. If you make a block from that drawing and insert it into your layout drawing, that layer is being referenced by the pump drawing. Therefore, you cannot purge it. So that's one of the reasons you can't purge layers. Now, all is not lost, because you can still, there's another tool you can use to help you rationalize the layers in the drawing file. And it's a tool called layer merge. Now, it's nothing new, it's been there for a long time, layer merge. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to merge some layers together to show you how easy and quick it is to rationalize the drawings in your file. So here, for example, I've got 3 frame layers. Yes, they are being used. They are probably the title blocks on a sheet. And there's a layer called border as well. There's a layer called border. It might be set up with a particular color. So what I want is my frames on layer border. So I'm going to select those 3 layers there, look. Right click on the mouse, and there is the option to merge those selected layers through to and merge them into a layer called border. And OK on that. It'll prompt you, are you sure to do that? Yes, please, go ahead and do it. And there we go. We've now lost those 3 layers. We've rationalized the layers of the drawing file, and the information has been moved across onto layer border. Now, one thing to watch out for there, you can't merge lock layers, for example. So there are criteria you've got to meet. The layers have to be available to be moved across. Now, any items on those layers that get moved across, if their property is set by layer, then when they move across into layer border, they will take on the properties of layer border, a color, line type, line weight, and so on. Now, if the colors are set explicitly to say green, they will remain green when being moved across the layer border. So it all depends how the object properties were set in there. Okay, so that's the merging. Really useful tool there. And there's two layers here, look, wall and walls. If I select the layer wall there, right click and say merge that selected layer to walls, whoops, walls, yes please, and there we go. We've rationalized the layers. So you can merge together your layer called text, annotations and notes, merge them together onto an annotations type layer, depending on what your Office CAD standards are. Right, I'm going to have a look at layer filters now. Layer filters, that's this column here. So let me go back to this, the paint shop layout drawing here, this one here. Now, if I double click my roller in this drawing file, you'll know that it will do a zoom extents. Until it's done there, it's brought up this massive text in the drawing file. Now, the drawing file, the drawing itself, that drawing we were just looking at a moment ago, is that one pixel lit up there. Oops. See this? There's a one pixel just lit up there. Can hardly see it. So I have to be really careful when I'm going to delete. But if I was to delete all that lot, it would take out the drawing file as well. So if I just be careful and go around that text there, delete. When I double click my roller now, the drawing should fill the screen. And it doesn't. Even though I delete that information. And the reason it doesn't fill the screen is because there are some objects on layers which are turned off. So if the layer is turned off, and in this drawing, there are over 300 layers, if there's a layer turned off, it comes in the calculation of zoom extents. So I use this button on the ribbon here to turn all layers on. There we go. And there they are. There was some hatching in that massive key on the screen. So if I delete that, double click my roller, and now the drawing fills the screen. You can see how complex this drawing file is. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into my layer manager again, do a right click on any column heading and do a maximize all columns. There we go. And I'm going to create in this side on the left some layer filters. Now I have seen drawing files with dozens and dozens of layer filters. And I suspect if the drawing file has been into some other CAD package that it will automatically create virtually a layer for every filter, which is, sorry, a filter for every layer, which is wrong. You don't need that many. So these layer filters, and how do you create them? What are they all about? Well, the idea of a filter is you can start to group together your layers. So you can group together all your electrical layers, group together all your mechanical layers, and it'll give you a list in here or a filter that you can go and select just those layers. Now there are two types of filters you can create. One is called a property filter, and one is called a group filter. So if I start with a property filter, first of all, a new property filter. There we go. So let's create a property filter in this drawing file for the safety equipment. So safety equipment. Okay. So what layers could there be in a drawing file related to safety equipment? Well, I'm going to search for in that box there under name, and you can create this filter based on the status of a layer, whether it's used or not, whether it's on or off, frozen or thawed and locked, and so on. Now, typically you'd make it for a layer name. So I'm going to search for alarm, start alarm, start. And it's picked up all these fire alarm loops, look, layers. You can put together multiple strings. So it's a star, which is above the number 8 on the keyboard, and then the name to search on, and then another star. So sprinkler. So start, star, and it's found some sprinklers. Look, sprinkler pipework and sprinklers. I'm going to pick onto sounder. See if, whoops. See if that picks up anything. Alarm, I'll type in fire, star, fire, star, and so on. Sensor. See what it picks up in terms of layers. So it's picking up on any layer with those names in for the fire equipment. If I do an OK on that, it now lists them in there. Look, there's all the information to do with the fire alarms and the safety equipment. Okay. Now, What I want to see on the screen is just that equipment. So I want to freeze or turn off the opposite list in effect, the inverted list. And sure enough, if I make one of those layers current down here, I have an invert filter option. If I click onto that, there is everything but the safety equipment. And if I do a right click on over any layer name, I can do a select all. There we go. And I can freeze all that lot. When I go back to my invert filter, there's my safety equipment layers. So when I do an OK now, come out of this, there it is on the screen, look. There is my safety equipment layers on the screen. You've got things like your alarm loops, your zones, your sprinkler pipework in there, the vertical red lines, and so on. All of this safety equipment. Okay. Now, if you go back in my layer list, in here, look, there we go, it's showing those. Now, the beauty about having this list here now, if you are having to position sprinkler lines or that kind of thing, then in my pull down list, it is only showing the filter, nothing of the other 250 layers. So it makes it a lot easier when you're working, if you're only working with your list. I'm gonna go back in the layer manager. Okay, I'm gonna invert the filter. If I invert the filter and go back to the all filter, go back to the all layers, suddenly it looks like all your layers have disappeared. Because what we are looking at there on the screen is not a list of all the layers, but a list of the inverted set of layers, which is nothing. So don't do that one. Catches me out all the time. So untick the invert filter at the appropriate point. There we go. So that's a property filter. Picks up on a layer name. Now, if I was to create a new layer with alarm in the name or fire in the name, it's going to get automatically added to that list, isn't it? Because it's a property filter. Now up here, you can create a different type of filter called a group filter. If I select the new group filter, this is just a group of layers that you pull together yourself. So I'm going to call it Steve's set of layers. Okay, if I go back to the all filter, and I simply now just select the layers I want to look at. Yeah, emergency lights, ductwork or whatever. Yeah, and drag those over where it says your group filter. There we go. So if I pick up my group filter now, there's my set of layers. Now the beauty of this, you can have anything you want in there, any layer you want. If you add a new layer, just drag and drop it into that list. So that's what's called layer filters. As I say, watch out for drawing files that come with loads of layer filters already in there that may have been generated from another CAD package. So watch out for that. That's your layer filters. Okay, now if I close that, and I'm going to go to another drawing, I'll open up another drawing here, and it's this 600 heating drawing. We open this one up. So I'm going to have a look at something else called the layer states manager. The layer states manager. Now, I'm sure you all turn layers on and off as you are working to display the drawing in a different way. Now, and as I say, I don't know if anybody's using the layer states manager. Now it's a bit hidden down here, look. There it is. It says where it says unsaved layer state. Now what you can do is you can take a snapshot of the layers at any point in time. So you can always revert back to those particular display of the layers, to that particular display of the layers. So here, for example, I'm going to turn layers off to get this back to a building shell with dimensions on. I'm going to use the freeze by selecting object and go and freeze off the furniture, the bathroom fittings, get rid of the roof line. There we go. Get rid of the electrical equipment. There we go. And get rid of the lights and so on. And get rid of the radiators. So we're left with, get rid of the, I'll leave the drainage on and turn off some things off down here. I'll turn that off, turn that off. Oops. I'm going to undo that layer freeze, pick my furniture, pick the tanks, pipework. There we go. So we are left with a shell of a building now. So that's, if you like, is the builder's plan. So that's what I want to print out and give to the builder. Okay. Now I can create a snapshot of the layers, which are turned on, which are turned off, which are frozen, which are locked, and everything else. And it's called the layer states manager. Here is his look. Click the pull down list, a new layer state called builder's plan. Builder's plan. Okay, on that. So I've now taken a snapshot of the layers. Okay, I'm going to turn them all back on again and thaw them all. There they all are, look. And I can create a drawing or layers for the Sparky. So again, I'm going to freeze off the dimensions. You don't bother with dimensions. Freeze off the beds, freeze off the wash basins, and the plumbing, because this is just for the Sparky. Okay, don't need any of this stuff down here. Get rid of those tanks again. Okay, and the furniture. So I'm leaving the downlighters in the building there, and obviously the electrical runs. So there's a good drawing to give to the Sparky. Okay, so in fact I'm going to come in here and create a new layer state called electrical plan. Electrical plan. There we go. Okay on that. So that's the Sparky's layout. He knows the room numbers, he knows where his sockets need to go, he needs to know where the switches are, and so on. Now, I can quick and easy switch from one layer state to another. So I'm going to turn them all on back on again and thaw them all. And in fact, why not create a layer state called all on? So a new layer state called all layers on, thawed, and unlocked. So, oops, can't have special characters. Get rid of that comma. And okay on that. There we go. So now it's dead easy to switch between those different layer states. So the Sparky walks through the door, he wants a print out, you just say, no problem. There's the electrical plan, file, print. Behind him is the builder. He wants a plan as well. Not a problem. Coming to here, file, there you go, builder's plan, file, print. Now as you go around your layouts, if I put a new layout on the screen, I'll pull one in, I'll pull one in from a template. If I bring a new template in, AEC model metric, open that up, ISO A1, okay on that one. So there's my ISO A1 sheet, and here now I can select that border there, drag it about halfway, copy back down, here's my viewport, copy back down again, and oops, wasn't quite central, but never mind, here we go, double click that one, double click your roller, and in this one, I want to say in this one, give me the builder's plan, there it is. Okay. Change the paper space. What happened there? I've lost my layout. Copy that again. So new layout from template. Find what it's done. It's turned off the border because the border was turned off, wasn't it? So yeah, these things are sent to triers. There's the viewport. And the viewport boundaries are turned off there. Go. So there's the builder's plan in that one. And in this one, I want the electrical layout. I was going to electrical plan. Helps if I put the view in the sheet, doesn't it? There we go. That's better. Turn them on, not more. That's better. I'll pull that into the viewport in around there. I should be a bit more careful with that. There we go. Pull it in around that one. See, nobody's infallible. Oops, missed it. There we go. So yeah, it's dead easy, isn't it, to turn layers on and off? I'll show it here. Look. So layers, there's the builder's plan, and there's the electrical plan. It just saves you going through a big long list of layers, or all, turn them all on, thawed and unlocked, press a button. So as I say, it's just a quick, easy way to switch between sets of layers, okay, when you're working. Right, let's have a look at Xrefs then. How do Xrefs work? Well, the idea behind Xrefs is you can have multiple people working on the same job to help get the job pushed through quicker. And it creates a link between drawing files. So, supposing I was going to do a site layout, and there's somebody else in the office working on floor plans to drop into this site, and my job is to lay the houses out on the site. Okay, so I'm going to open my site plan drawing. There it is, and my site plan drawing. Okay, and the idea is I'm going to link in floor plans of the different house types and lay them out on my site. So I start a brand new drawing called site plan, and I'm going to go to the insert tab, and there's the attach button to attach. I can attach an Xref, or a drawing file rather. I can attach a drawing file into this floor plan, into this site plan. Open it up. Comes on the screen there, asking about the scale, the insertion point, and so on. And it's going to come in as what's called an attachment. I'll explain that in a bit. So, and it picks up on the units. I'm going to specify the insertion point on the site to place this building. Do an OK on that. And there's my building showing up on the site. I'm going to zoom out and go and position it on the site just there. And it comes up on the screen, and it is grayed out slightly. That's because this has been brought in like a block, really. And if I select it, the whole thing highlights like a block. Notice when I pick onto it, the ribbon changes to a context-sensitive ribbon saying this is an external reference. It tells me at the top there and gives me various options for editing in place, opening the Xref, and so on, creating a clipping boundary. So, for example, if I wanted to pull in just the entrance lobbies, or what shall I pull in? I'll pull in half the building. I can create what's called a clipping boundary. I'm going to do a rectangular clipping boundary around part of the building. And there it is, look. So it's only displaying on the screen part of the building. Okay. So I can say hide the frames, so you can't even see the frames around the Xref. So that will fit better onto my drawing sheet if I clip it down. So if I say display the frames, there we go, I can see the frame, which means I can go and grab the clipping frame, and it's a bit like a viewport, isn't it? So I can show more or less in there. Now, if I drag it across to here, for example, I can actually drag it inside this area here. Watch what I'm doing here. So I put it inside that big room. I'm going to flip the boundary so it's cropped out the center area there, look. So you can invert the crop. That's inverting the crop, look. Invert the X clip. So you can see it cuts out the bit in the middle there. Anyway, so I'm going to get rid of the clipping boundary so I can see the whole thing again. Right, so as I'm going to open this Xref now. So if anybody's working on this in the same office as you, here we go. And if I was to, if I delete this door here, for example, get rid of that door there. Okay, and delete those lines there. I'll zoom in, get rid of those lines there, and add in a line. Well, I'll just do a join, J to join, that line, and that line, and that line, and that line. Join those lines up. There we go. So I've got a door in here now. In fact, I'll just copy. I shouldn't delete that, should I? So I'll copy this door from there to there. Get rid of that. What else shall I do in here? I'll get rid of this staircase down here. There we go. So don't forget, I'm in the Xref here, or actually I've opened the Xref as a drawing file in its own right. If I do a save on this and then go back to my site plan drawing, it pops up and says the Xref was modified by Joe Bloggs down the corridor. Do you want to reload the new one now? Now notice in AutoCAD 2021, you have an option to compare the changes. If I say yes, reload it, and it shows me in here the changes, the staircase down there. And if I use the arrow here, so I'm in this compare changes mode, which you didn't have before AutoCAD 2021. So go on to there, it's showing me that there's some changes around this area here. And if I pick on the key here, look, red means it's not in the current Xref. Or if I say it's only in the current Xref. So the original door was swung to the left and the new door swings to the right. It shows down here that these red lines from the old door frame's been removed, that wall's been removed, and that text has been removed. Okay, so it's showing me the changes. And here, those red lines have been removed, they don't exist. It's showing each one of those in turn. There we go. And back to showing the whole thing. So when I do a green tick and say, yeah, I'm okay with those changes, green tick to go, and there we go, it's brought the new Xref in. So that's a live link to the Xref from the guy who's working it down the corridor. So that's showing the changes there. Okay, now, it's not always the case that you can create a live link to the Xref, because the Xref might have come from an architect's practice down the road, and you were the electrical engineer or the HVAC guy. So what happens with you guys then, where you haven't got a live link? Well, this is what, I'll show you what happens. So supposing that the architect has sent along, emailed over a new floor plan. Now, people who are using the Xrefs already, a lot of them, instead of using the functionality, what they do is they select the Xref, and you have an option to actually open the Xref manager. There's the Xref manager, and there it's showing me I'm in the site plan drawing, and there is the back building Xref in here. If I right click over that, I have an option to unload this, reload it, detach or bind, or select the Xref type. So unload. What unload does, it will temporarily unload this Xref from the drawing. Because don't forget, if this is a site plan drawing, I'd be working on the roads and so on, footpaths, gardens, and that kind of thing. So you can temporarily unload your Xrefs so that they are not part of your drawing anymore, temporarily. So they're not displayed. And then once you want to turn them back on again to print the thing out or something like that, what you can do is come back into here, you select the Xref, right click, and say reload it. It comes back in the same location, same orientation, same scale and everything. Okay. Now, there is also an option in here to detach, because it may be the case that I've done some work, I've referenced the Xref, and now I don't need it anymore, because all the information I need is in my drawing file. So what you can do there is when you detach it, it takes it out. It's a bit like erasing a symbol or a block out of your drawing file. It's gone permanently. Okay, so that's that. Now, going back to what we were talking about there, what if the architect on the road sends you a new drawing file? Well, at the moment it says the save path. If I click on it, and there at the end I can say I want to now, instead of looking at this bank building AM drawing, if I click on the three buttons at the end of the line there, I can now say, well, we've been sent a revision A by the architect. So select revision A, open it up, and there on the screen now is the revision A one. You can see there, these walls have been extended out. So if I go back to the original drawing file, see how this toilet and workroom were narrower. Now, on the site plan drawing, the toilet and workroom are wider. So it brings in the architect's new Xref. Now you can, if I say go in the bank building AM drawing here, look, I can go up to the collaborate button there and compare the bank building AM with bank building Rev A, see what the differences are. And it now shows me what the differences are there, look. And I can see, if I go to that, you can see that in the new revision A, they've been extended out to the left and the right. Okay, so if I step through those, because it's showing the whole thing, it's putting a bottom on the whole thing. So yeah, you can see, don't forget I'm in bank building AM. So these are the differences. Bank building AM is green, then the bank building AM Rev A is red. Okay, and then you close that. So that's how you do a compare between the Architect's Xref that is just sent and the old one. Okay, so there, go back to the site plan drawing. I've swapped the Xrefs over, which means I didn't have to go around and reinsert them, setting the position on the site, the rotation and everything else. I just said, use this file now as the Xref, and it's reloaded in the new file. Okay, the revision A file. Swapping, so that's swapping Xrefs and showing the changes. Now, if I go back to if I go and open up, because now we're obviously working into if I go and open this Xref, open Xref, so we're now in the revision A Xref. Okay. So we're now in the revision A Xref with the wider rooms there, stretched out both ways. There's the site plan that uses that file. There's a site plan with the Xref in it. So let's have a look. Now, there is a variable that controls the layers. Because in the site plan drawing, you might want to turn off, say, the doors or the text or something like that. So in the Home tab, I'm on layer 0. If I say freeze the text and freeze the doors, oops, okay, not a very good drawing, and freeze the furniture, that disappears. Now, if I save my file, when I reopen it, I would hope that those layers are still in that particular state. Now, there's a variable that controls that called visRetain. So if I type in visRetain and set visRetain to 0, then the layers are controlled by the Xref. So if I close this site plan drawing, I'll do a save, Control S to save, and close the site plan drawing. When I reopen site plan, I would expect the text to be there and the furniture. And there it is, look, because the layers are being controlled by the Xref. If I go to the Xref, there we go, I'm in the Xref drawing now, revision A, and if I turn the furniture off or freeze the furniture, there we go, and save this, Control S to save. When I go to my site plan drawing, it said it's been changed. If I say reload it now, there we go, the layers are controlled by the Xref. So visRetain 0, the Xref controls the layers in the final drawing. The default is for visRetain to be 1, therefore the final drawing, i.e. the site plan, controls the layers. So visRetain, if I set that to 1 and turn all my layers on and thaw them all, they will remain on. I've got some wall headers there, some door headers. Right click, open Xref, turn all my layers on. Notice there's a headers layer. I'm just turn this headers layer on and get rid of those headers. So right click, select similar, press delete, there they've gone. Right, so Control S, back into the site plan drawing, reload it. Let's get rid of the headers. Yeah, okay, just go and do it. Right, now the thing is, if the layers are controlled by the final drawing, what you can do is this. If I go to my layer manager and select the Xref layers, There we go. And if I make the color to be, I want them to be dimmed down so they don't stand out against my HVAC or anything else. Okay, so I've made them all color 9, look. If I close that. So I've grayed out my Xref. But don't forget, in the Xref itself, you've still got all your fancy colors. If I turn my layers back on again, the furniture layer, for example, you're able to see it. There we go. I've still got my colors. And it still works. If I was to delete that bit of furniture in there, whoops, delete that furniture in there, do a save on that, go back to my site plan drawing, reload my Xref. Even though I reload it, green tick to accept the changes, it still stays grayed out. So when I put my HVAC on, my piping on, it's the layers, the colors are set, if you like, by this particular drawing. If I look at the layer manager, you can see it's created a layer filter, like we looked at earlier on. And there are the layers for the Xref. Notice how they're prefixed with the layer, the Xref name, and then the Xref layer name. Okay. Right. Now, something else I want to show you here is I'm going to go back in the bank building AM drawing, and I'm going to put an Xref into an Xref. So here, I'm going to attach, insert, attach an Xref called toilet block, and open that up. Here it is, and I can specify on the screen insertion point. You can see next to my cursor, I've got a toilet and a wash basin as an Xref. Now, don't forget, it's going into this drawing file as an Xref. Now, I should have changed another setting there, actually. If I should, hang on. Oops, didn't want it there. Right, let me come into this, into here. There's a toilet block Xref. I should have changed the Xref type to one called an overlay. Instead of an attachment, this toilet block layout is going into here as an overlay. Let's pop in the corner down here. So there we go. I can copy it around in the drawing file from there up to there, for example. There we go. I'll just show you where I should have changed it. Attach, toilet block, open. And it's there, look. I should have made an overlay when I tick that box there. So the toilet or the furniture layout, don't forget this could be a wing of a hospital. The furniture layout would show in all the wards. Now I don't want that shown in the site plan. So watch what happens in here now. If I do a save on the architect's revision A, Control S to save, don't forget there's an Xref going into here, and it's put into this drawing file as an overlay. If I go to the site plan drawing, it tells me, yeah, the architect's revision A drawing has changed. Do you want to bring the new one in? I'll say yes, please. And there's the new one. Notice it doesn't show the toilet block because that was put into the revision A drawing as an overlay. So if I put it in as an Xref, then the Xrefs would cascade all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. So in the site plan drawing, you'd have drawings of houses with all the furniture inside. Well, that's overkill. You don't need that amount of detail. All you need to see on the site plan is the position and orientation of the houses on the site plan. So it leaves behind all that extra data if you put them in as an overlay, not an attachment. Okay. Now, before you issue the drawing file, what you need to do, because you don't want your issued site plan updating when the architect sends you a new floor plan, or when the guy down the office, when he updates his drawing file, the floor plan drawing, you don't want it updating your issued site plan. There's always a danger of that. So your drawing file would end up, your issued drawing file would end up getting changed. And that's a bit dangerous. So this is what you need to do. Go into your attach here, look. Not attach, just go into your Xref manager. And you can get the Xref manager down here, bottom right hand corner. There's the Xref manager. There's the bank building AM Xref going into my site plan drawing. And what you can do is do a right click. I've mentioned the option about reload and unloading, but before you issue a drawing, if it needs to see the floor plan of the buildings, you do a bind. You bind the Xrefs into your drawing to make it a permanent part of your drawing file. Now, when I pick the bind option there, look, it gives you the option, how do you want to bind it in? As a bind or an insert. So, if I put it in as a bind, watch what happens to the layers. So if I say bind the Xref in to make it a permanent part of this drawing file, there we go, look, it's disappeared from the Xref manager because it's now no longer an Xref, it is now a block. If I look at the layer manager in here, look, with a bind, it has retained the Xref layers, which allows me then to go and filter those separately from all the other layers and change the color or whatever I want to do them. So that's using the bind option. Let me just do a few undos here. Control U, Control U. Oops. There we go. So is that an Xref now? Yes, it's now an Xref again. So this time, instead of doing the bind, what I'm going to do this time is do a right click and I'm going to say bind, and this time do an insert. If I do an insert on that, watch what happens. What it's done is, what it has done, it's in the layer manager, it has merged those Xref layers with your layers. Merge the Xref layers with your layers. Okay. So the objects, because their properties were set by layer, the objects have taken on the properties of the layers that are brought in. Notice down here that there wasn't a layer called staircase, and there wasn't a layer for those walls there. So they've retained the old Xref layers because there wasn't a layer for them to go to. Okay, so there we go. So if I just stop that, cancel. So that's telling me time's nearly up there. Right. So one last thing to show you then is this e-transmit. Now I don't know what you do with your drawing files in terms of the revision history and issue control. Now the e-transmit command, the idea behind e-transmit is that it will transmit your drawing and send it out to anybody who needs your drawing file. Or if you're receiving drawing files, I've no doubt you've had the situation where it says Xref not found or can't find a font file. Now this e-transmit will cater for all of those and get around the issue of files missing. So here I'm going to save on my file and I'm going to run the e-transmit on this. Now the first time you run it, so you can type the word e-transmit or go to the big letter A up the corner there, look, and come down to this publish option, and there it is, e-transmit. As it says there, it will create a package of drawing files and their dependencies. So a drawing file depends, for example, on a font file, so that the text all displays the same. It also depends on plot styles, so that when the guy you send your drawing file to plots it, it looks the same as the file when you plot it. So if I go to e-transmit, the first time round it comes up with this here. And what I typically do is come into here. You'll only have the one called standard to start with. What I typically do is come into here and change the transmittal setup. So this drawing file called site plan is relying on your plot style tables, AutoCAD CTB, plotter configurations, WF6 plot, and that kind of thing. So what I typically do is this: go to transmittal setups and create a new one, and I call it all files. Oops. So it'll create a transmittal and it'll take every last file that your drawing file needs. So continue on that, and here we go. So whipping through this, I'm conscious of time here. At the top there, how is it going to package your drawing file up? It's going to go as a zip file. Okay, so it'll zip them all up, and you can tell it where to create the zip file, transmittal folder. Okay, and then you can change the file format as well. So if I was to say send it back to an AutoCAD 2004 drawing, it leaves my drawing on the screen as a 2021 drawing, yet the one I send out, it'll make a 2004 drawing. which is great because then I can keep the functionality in my drawing on the screen, and I'm not losing the functionality by saving back to an earlier version of AutoCAD. So that's useful in itself. Further down here, I typically place all the files in one folder. That way it doesn't build a folder structure on my hard drive when the guy at the other end unzips it. It doesn't create a big massive folder structure. It just puts all the files in one folder. On the right hand side, send an email. Well, no, I don't want to stack the emails now, but yes, I do want to set the plots to none. Okay, oops. And if they're external references, you can bind them in automatically. So when it's sent to the other person down the road, if he doesn't know about Xrefs, it'll just bind them into the part of the drawing file. And I just explained a moment ago, if I do a bind, it'll retain the Xref layers. If I do an insert, the Xref layers will get merged with my site plan layers. You can also do a purge as well. So that's quite useful. It purges your drawing file down, so it gets rid of all your unused layers, unused text styles, dimension styles, text styles, and so on. It gets rid of them all for you. Further down, there's the fonts. Look, it'll include, if you use fancy fonts in your drawing file, it'll include those as well. Do an OK on that, an OK, a close on that. So that only needs to be done once. Now you've got that transmittal set up for eternity on your PC. So you can see now it takes all of these files along with a TrueType file, aerial, city blueprint, they all go along with my drawing file when I send it out to any other people. Okay, and do an OK on that. And it zips those files up into the Webinar 3 folder and saves it away. And if I go and look in that folder, into the Webinar 3 folder, and there it is, the zip file in there. Now the guy on the road has asked for one drawing file, and you send him a zip file. So looking in the zip file, you've sent him 11 files, and he says, what to do with these 11 files? Well, if he reads the TXT file in there, it tells the guy exactly what to do with all those files. What to do with the TrueType font files, what to do with the PC3 files, the CTB files, and so on. You've got no excuse. It tells what to do with all of those files. So that e-transmit routine allows files to be sent to people or received, and there are no files missing. You have got the whole lot there. The plot style tables, the whole lot. And I think it's a really useful tool for saving historical revisions, because I suspect that if you were to open up a drawing file that you created on your system, say 2 or 3 years ago, I would suspect when you print it out, it will look nothing like it when it was printed out 2 or 3 years ago. But if you were to e-transmit and zip that file up with its dependencies and save it away in an archive folder, when you unzip it a couple of years down the line, you have your plot style tables in there, the fonts in there, and everything else in there. So I think there's a lot of scope for using that e-transmit tool as a tool to store your historical revisions. So when anybody comes in knocking on your door saying, hey, this happened, you always open it. You can show the drawing file as it was when it was issued 2 or 3 years ago, whatever. There we go, folks. So I look at layers there, route and reconcile layers, the layer managers, layer filters, the layer states manager. And I've gone through Xrefs, how to attach those, show the changes, and what to do if the architect sends you a new one. Looking at the attach and overlay there, the differences in there, and also unloading and reloading, and then binding, and then finally a quick zip through there, looking at the e-transmit. Okay, well, time's about up there. I'll let you guys get away. Thank you very much. And if you enjoyed that, then don't forget to, well, send me any feedback on that you've got. It's always good to know feedback, what you thought of it. Any ideas or suggestions on what you'd like to see in a future webinar, that's always good to get through as well. And then all these webinars are recorded, and then they are placed on our website so you can download them and go through in your own pace, in your own time, if you don't have time to go through them. I'm running a webinar next Thursday, so have a look on our website, see what they are, and if you're interested, get logged on. Now, places are limited. I didn't realize that there is a limit on the places for these webinars. And if you can't get onto it, just drop us an email and then we'll rerun. If we run out of spaces, we'll rerun the webinars because they are proving to be popular. The other day that I had 122 people register. Unbelievable. It just shows that I'm showing folks stuff that's really useful there. Okay, that's great. I'm getting back into here. So let's turn my webcam on again. Okay, folks, so thank you very much. That's brilliant there. Don't forget to email me, stevecrow@greytech.co.uk. And I'll see you in the next webinar. Cheers, guys. Bye now.